before the Switch, the idea and concept of having a hybrid handheld, it existed in some ways, but it really didn't take off as being like a mainstream way to play video games until the Switch.
Right.
And now that the Switch proved that it could be done really well, the next thing was, well, let's get other people in on it. And it seems like for whatever reason, handheld PCs, the handheld PC market were the ones to say, okay, let's try it with handheld PCs.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Steam Deck from Valve kind of kicked the door open.
Yep.
But then we also have this Asus ROG Ally. Now we got the Ally X, which is the new hotness. We got the Lenovo Legion Go. Those are definitely the three big ones. But there's smaller ones too. You got GPD. You got this Chinese company called Ioneo that makes, honestly, some really cool stuff. It's just often really expensive. But they do have some really cool looking stuff. So there's a lot of options. And
it's not just this Switch anymore. Not just the Switch. We've
not
got
even
tons
close.
Of things.
And obviously, everything I just named is way more powerful than the Switch. And can do a lot more.
Can play a lot more games.
Yeah. But you know what it can't do?
What's that?
It can't catch Pokemon legally. it can't stomp Goombas legally.
Yeah.
It can't wield the Triforce of Courage legally.
Yeah. I mean, no, you are right. I mean, like, I think there's that. The games are the biggest thing. Obviously, there are workarounds, and people do that. But we've talked about it multiple times on the podcast. Like, I feel really weird about even the concept of emulating something that's currently in production and being sold, and like that just feels really. That's to me feels icky personally. So, and I think that most people probably feel that way too. So we can pretty much ignore that aspect of it. So now it's just like the Switch or the successor to the Switch.
Thank you.
What it's going to have is it's going to have Nintendo games, and that's something that these things will never have legally.
Correct.
Right. So, and because we know Nintendo's not going to be porting, they're not going to have PC ports anytime soon.
I don't see it.
Yeah. So there's that. And that's going to be like the main thing that I think a lot of people are going to say, well, of course, this Nintendo console will be fine because it's all about the games.
Right.
On top of that, though, I think about price. Like the price of these handheld PCs generally is quite a bit more than what we expect a Nintendo console to be priced at.
Definitely.
With some exceptions, like the Steam Deck it can be pretty cheap for that LCD base model.
Yes.
Especially back at the summer sale when they marked it way down. I mean, it was really cheap.
You can get into a Steam Deck pretty cheap. And you can get into like the Not X Ally pretty cheap too, especially if you find like an open deal box at Best Buy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Besides that, I'm not sure that you can really get them very cheap. And the new Ally X, which is definitely the new hotness, that thing is all over my recommended page on YouTube, and I've watched way too much stuff about it. It's like $800. Not exactly a competitor to what we expect next from Nintendo.
No, exactly.
Price-wise.
Exactly.
Way more powerful, yes. Way better screen, almost certainly. Way more expensive, yes.
Well, I think this is a very interesting conversation, and we got a lot of comments about this because we put a poll out, and the poll we put out said, will the Nintendo Switch's successor be able to compete with the continuous arrival and refinement of handheld PCs?
Yep, at 59% people said, yep, I think so. At 26% people said, no, I don't think so. And at 15% people said, I'm not sure.
And I think we should just get in some comments about this because I'm sure like some of the things that we've said already might be elaborated on.
Oh, they might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit us with Daniel Souza.
Daniel Souza says, the reason why the Switch was so massive wasn't just because of its cool new features, but most importantly, its games. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, etc. These massive new games brought attention to the Switch before it even released. Nintendo knows this, and that's probably why we haven't gotten anything big or major in recent directs. They're loading their big guns.
Daniel.
Ooh, yeah.
When I read your comment and I saw the last sentence, they're loading their big guns, it excited me because I certainly hope that they are loading their big guns because Papa needs a 3D Mario. Am I right?
It really is exciting to think of like, well, this past year in Nintendo, I'm not going to say it hasn't been exciting because there have been a select few things that are interesting.
Yeah.
We're getting a new Zelda game. So like you can pretty much say like any year with a new Zelda game is like, it's at least
It's not
decent.
an off year.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. But it kind of feels like an off year when you compare it to the rest of the Switch, right? The rest of the years of the Switch. Have we ever had a year that was as low output as this one?
But I mean, we've said this on the podcast before, but while sure, maybe it is low output comparatively, it's still ridiculously good for a console being over 7 years old. It's still obscenely good, in my opinion.
We're getting Zelda.
You're getting your Mario and Luigi, which a lot of people are really pumped about. I don't know. Maybe I'll eventually play it, but it definitely looks cool.
Yep.
Did Thousand Year Door remake come out this year, or was that last year? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like filling the schedule with remakes and remasters feels like I almost like don't want to count those. I know. Yeah, but that's not all there is. There's plenty of others, and so like those feel like they're padding. They feel like padding. Not that they can't be good because they can be great games, but they feel like padding. When like coming up, we've got Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the third release of Donkey Kong Country Returns. It feels a little bit like padding.
I don't have to talk about that one.
Yeah.
That we all know I was disappointed by that one.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that they're not clearly kind of reaching to make sure that they still have a year, but I do think that they've done a better job than anybody figured they would.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider that very likely the reason that there are so few high-profile games this year is because of this reason.
Because they're loading their big guns.
They're loading their big guns.
Baby girl.
And I really wouldn't be surprised if we see a new 3D Mario at launch. A new Mario Kart at launch. Like, I think those are very reasonable things to expect. I don't think we're going to get a new like 3D Zelda at launch because we know how long those take to make.
Definitely.
And we just got one last year.
Yeah.
So...
And how long will it take them to tell me something about Smash? Probably not forever.
It won't take too long.
It can't.
It really can't.
It's a marquee.
I expect it to be pretty similar to like the Switch, where we get news about it within the first year.
That
wouldn't that be awesome?
That just speaks to me.
Yeah,
I can't wait. It's been so long since we got a reveal trailer for a Smash game.
Yeah,
I will just shit all over the place. I am so excited.
Just rip off the britches and let it fly, huh?
No.
The britches. Keep the britches on.
I am so excited. Like Smash. Anyway, we're actually going to talk about Smash a little later. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's in a comment. So
yeah,
you want us to go into the next comment here?
Sure.
All right, we got Steve Davies who said it will more than compete in terms of sales. It will absolutely dominate the handheld market. That don't mean it will be better, though. Anyone bored of playing the same Mario, Zelda, Smash Bros., Mario Kart, etc. for the last 25 years should pick up a PC handheld. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's interesting. I think that a lot of people, a lot of Nintendo fans kind of get in the Nintendo rut.
Yeah.
And as a person who tends to fall into the Nintendo rut occasionally. I do find that when I bounce out of it, which I do, I definitely don't get it, but I've lived there. I know what it's like to be in the rut.
Yeah.
It's nice to get out and try different things.
Yeah.
That being said, I keep going back to the rut for a reason.
Well, I was about to say, it works both ways because, sure, I've been in Nintendo ruts, no doubt, and it's refreshing to get out of them. And I would consider the past maybe couple years me being fairly out of it.
Definitely.
And recently, I've kind of come back. I've been playing mostly Switch, and it feels like a warm blanket. It is just like, it's so cozy. It's like coming home, and it just feels nice. I want to be back in the rut. Like, give me a rut to fall in, Nintendo. You know what I'm saying? Like, rut me, baby.
Rut me. And at the same time, though, like, I do think that it's good to get out and try some other stuff. And like, I think a handheld PC is great for trying stuff. Probably the best option, honestly.
Excellent.
Unless you just don't. Well, the thing about the handheld PC is it's very console-like,
Well,
especially
the
like
Steam Deck is.
But I mean, it gives you the flexibility of a console in that you don't have to be in wherever your PC is. Like a console can be played in the living room. You can play your handheld PC in the living room. You can dock them. You can play it in handheld. It's just really flexible.
Yep.
I think that added flexibility makes you more willing to try different things.
Absolutely. It gives you a ton of options and does, it lets you do things that Nintendo doesn't allow you to do. But it also doesn't allow you to do what Nintendo does allow you to do, which is why you got to get both.
Right. And that's the thing, like I'm always interested when people are like, I'm not a Nintendo person. I don't play any Nintendo games. I just don't play them. I think kind of the same thing. It's kind of like you should try them because they're fantastic games. Like if I could only choose one, personally, I would choose a Nintendo system. But that's me personally. But that's because I find them to be my favorite games.
Well, I would agree. I would do the same thing because Smash is completely non-negotiable. I have to play Smash. If there's a new Smash game out and I can't play it because all I'm doing is playing Steam Deck, I'm going to have to sell that damn Steam Deck.
Right, yeah.
I have to play Smash.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's like, and Nintendo games, I don't know that I have like one franchise that like is that way to me, but just Nintendo in general is kind of that way with me.
Yeah.
I have to play Nintendo games. Like if a new 3D Mario comes out, I have to play it.
I have to play that.
A new Zelda comes out, I have to play it.
I mean, I don't know if you still well, there just aren't that many games coming out, but for the Switch, you would pretty much jump on any first party game for Nintendo. Like, you played like Yoshi's Crafted World and you played the, like your Kirby Star Allies and like those games I was not interested in because they didn't look like my kind of games. They looked maybe cozy and adorable and well made, but not really what I look for in a game. So I don't know that I'm just that way for anything with the Nintendo stamp on it, but I feel so strongly about a few of those franchises that it just has to be.
That's fair. We have another comment here. This one's from Tom Derry, who says, since we're talking system only, no, it can't. If we're talking games, though, it's not easy to hold your own against Nintendo. People buy a PC for specs. They buy a Nintendo for games.
And that goes along with exactly what we've been saying. It's not going to be as highly spec'd as the ROG Ally X.
Not at all.
But it's going to have some games that you can't play there, and my money is on some of them being freaking fantastic. And I don't know. How much do I need to beat this horse? I don't know. You let me know.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, because we've found that if the system isn't up to snuff for Nintendo, people won't buy it. We saw that with the Wii U. The games weren't enough.
Yeah.
But I would argue that the reason the Wii U failed was not because the games weren't good. It was because it wasn't even necessarily that the console was bad. It was that the gimmick was bad.
I don't even think the gimmick was bad. I just think people didn't understand what it was. Because as somebody who did play the Wii U when it was new, immediately I thought the gimmick was fantastic.
But it was a gimmick. And I think that was the big problem, is that it was a gimmick. And the Switch...
But we just come from the Wii.
Yeah.
That was a gimmick.
Which was a gimmick, yes. And I think that the Wii died out prematurely because it was gimmicky. Like, that was why so many people got tired of the Wii. It's because after a couple years of it, they were like, the gimmick wore off and it just wasn't good anymore. And the thing about the Switch is you could argue that the whole hybrid dockable console thing is a gimmick. But the thing is, to me, for it to be a gimmick, it has to feel like a gimmick. And to me, it doesn't feel like a gimmick.
Yeah.
It just feels like a really great feature that I wish every console had the option to pick it up and take it with me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily feel like it's a gimmick if it's that like...
Because it's so well done.
It's so well done.
It's so well done. It makes so much sense, and it adds to it.
Yes.
And the Wii U, I mean, I've always seen the Wii U, as like maybe the prototype for what the Switch became, because the gamepad, you could play on the gamepad, but you couldn't take it anywhere. You could take it in your house, with certain limitations. Maybe the technology just wasn't there yet for you to be able to take it out the house and play, But and maybe that's why it's a gimmick, because it wasn't quite there.
It wasn't quite there, and I think that also a lot of games requiring this, like the maybe the asymmetrical, like you're playing on your handheld and you're playing on the TV at the same time. Like, although there are a few games in which that concept works, for the vast majority of games, you have to shoehorn that in to make it make sense.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. It doesn't even feel like it adds anything. In fact, it feels like it adds a barrier instead of allowing you to access games in a new way.
Yeah, I didn't play any of the games that required that to be like a heavy feature. All the games that I played on it were like games where maybe you had a map there or something, but like it wasn't crazy. And games like Smash and Mario Kart and things like that, you didn't need it at all.
No,
you could just play it right there. You're not missing anything, and I loved it. But yeah, I mean, where's the line between gimmick and feature? I don't know. The Switch definitely crossed it, though.
The Switch definitely crossed it, for sure, 100%. Like, Switch went from what could, on the surface, maybe felt like a gimmick, but once you start realizing, you realize, wait, this is just something that everyone should do.
Yeah.
And that's why we have things like Xbox rumored that they're going to be coming with some sort of handheld hybrid, potentially hybrid console. PlayStation is dabbling with it in a small way, but they may even be coming with a full-on hybrid system in the future as well. I mean, obviously, this is all just like leaks and guessing and stuff. Like, we don't really know for sure that either of those are going to do it. But obviously, we know that the handheld PC market, which maybe moves the fastest in terms of like getting new new hardware out. Yes, exactly. They've already gone into it full force. Like, it is really taken over.
They've already like iterated on models.
Yes,
like we've already got a Steam Deck like mid-cycle refresh, and we've already got an Ally X, which is essentially a mid-cycle refresh. And they move fast. But PC companies do that. Like Asus, they'll put out like a new version of their gaming laptop every year.
Yes, exactly.
It's just what happens. So it's a whole different approach, where consoles go for like 5 to 7, maybe 8 years, and then PCs are like new model every year, and it's like a damn car.
Right. So it's really interesting to see, and I do think that the competition is going to be stiffer. I do think there is going to be some people who are going to be like, okay, I want to get a new thing. I really like the idea of these hybrid consoles. What do I want to do? Do I want a Nintendo console, or do I want maybe to get a handheld PC? And there will be some people who choose a handheld PC over a Switch. But I feel like most of the people who want a Nintendo console want a Nintendo console, and they don't care that there's competition out there that they might be able to enjoy as well.
Right. They're going to buy it no matter what. Yeah, and that's where we fall. Randy already is on record saying he would spend $800.
I did not say that.
On the successor.
Go back and watch it. I did not say that.
All right, we got a comment here from Indoorsman, which is a hilarious name, by the way. I love that. As a person commenting on a gaming podcast, that freaking tracks. Indoorsman said, Nintendo doesn't compete. And I'm not sure exactly what Indoorsman's meaning was, but I can tell you what I took from that. Which is that I completely agree. Nintendo does not compete, because Nintendo is its own thing.
Yeah.
Nintendo is like hacky sack.
I'm interested to see where you go with this.
Nintendo is like hacky sack, because when you want to play hacky sack, Randy, what do you say?
Let's hack some sack, bro.
Okay, sure. So that's fine. Another thing you could have said was, Daniel, let's play hacky sack. But you know what you don't say?
No.
You don't say, let's play with the foot bag. Because hacky sack is a brand that became synonymous with the product that they make, right? They transcended into becoming the generic name for that thing. And amongst some people, Nintendo's done the same thing. My parents, to this day, if I'm talking to them about Gears of War, which I never have, but it's an example. If I'm talking to them about something that is clearly not on a Nintendo console, that's what I'm trying to say. My dad would still refer to that as like, you playing that on the new Nintendo? That's what they do. That's what the older generation, at least around here, does. They also call all soft drinks Coke.
So there you go.
Tag in on this. I mean, I know that's a hell of a metaphor. Tag in on this.
I think Nintendo doesn't compete in that they're not trying to compete.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see PlayStation, they don't see Sony, they don't see gaming PCs or just PCs in general. They don't see them as competition because they know that what they're doing is just their thing. And then people are going to either like what they're doing or they're not. And they don't.
Right.
They're not trying to like take an audience away from anybody. They're just trying to build an audience. That's it.
It's a growth mindset.
Yes, it's a growth mindset.
That's interesting. You know, and you didn't even mention Xbox, so I'm sorry, Tim and Tom, but
I did too.
You are not.
I
no,
did
you
too.
mentioned PlayStation and Sony. You did mention Xbox.
Sorry.
So Tim and Tom, you know, you ain't got shit on Nintendo. I guess I don't know what to say.